Well, right now I'm at my house in Whittier, California, and my normal routine is I usually always have coffee in the morning, like a slice of bagel and some kind of fruit, either bananas or something to put on my bagel, and some orange juice. Not too heavy because I normally have a big dinner and I eat kind of late. So, well, I don't eat late, but I eat, and I figure that food right there kind of holds me over the next day. So I'm not really that hungry during the morning. And then I don't like to really eat too much because I like to go out and try to train with an emptier stomach.
For sure. No, I also sometimes calibrate daily life into my meals. Sometimes, I eat late and in the morning, I feel I still have nutrition in me to go out and do some training. But then sometimes it
Right.
doesn't happen like that. So one just has to merge the demands of daily living into one's training and performance routine.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, Tinker, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? Well, I've been a cyclist my whole career, my whole life. I started racing BMX in 1973. For BMX, I never stopped riding. I never, actually stopped riding my bike. So I raced BMX, and then I got into mountain biking. So cycling has just been in my blood since I was 13, pretty much.
And how old are you now?
I'm 63. Yeah.
63
Yeah.
years young.
Yeah, I'm
Five.
63. Yeah, and I started riding my bike I was riding my bike competitively at age 13. And I started in the sport of BMX, which was a new sport. And in this sport, I stuck with it, and I loved the competition. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what I did in my start of my career. Is I started in this sport that was BMX, and did it for 15 years.
Congratulations on 5 decades of competitive cycling. 5 decades of consistency in anything in life is truly remarkable. That's incredible. Your nickname, Tinker, has
Yeah.
a unique ring to it. Is there a story behind it?
Not much of a story. I think just when we were racing, when I started BMX, the friends that I hung out with at after school, we used to meet at a park, and at this park it was called Holyfield, and there was a big dirt hill, and we created it into like a BMX park, so to speak. And we made a track on it. We just made jumps around it, and so everybody kind of had a name, and so the nickname. My real name is David. Yeah, people started they started calling me Tinker because of maybe because I was tinkering around my bike, always
Ah,
always doing something with my bike. So they just kind of just it just kind of became my real name at that point.
this is an opportune time in a way for me to meet with, let's say, somebody like you who's been at the top of the sport for so long. The Olympics are going on as we record, right? You
Right.
competed, I believe, in 96 and 2000. I think 96 was perhaps the first year mountain biking made it to the Olympics.
The Olympic. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Uh, can you share what it felt like to represent your country back then as maybe a pioneering sport and a
Um,
pioneer?
Yeah, well, when I was doing BMX, I mean mountain biking, and I started in 1996. As I was moving up in the rankings or whatever, I was riding for Climb bicycles in around 1993, and in '94, I got on Cannondale, and Cannondale started this big team, and they asked me to ride for the team, and it was Volvo Cannondale. I was really racing out of, my best, that was actually my best career was between 93 to 2000. I've had, really some good results and stuff. When we heard about the mountain bike getting introduced to the Olympics, I definitely was, excited as every mountain biker. And so I had a chance to make the team. So I was racing really good. I was national, I was Northern national number one. And I was really, at my peak at that moment. So to make it in the U.S. team, it was a super big honor for me, representing your country. I was racing a long time before the Olympics, but to get a chance at that time to make the Olympic team was a great feeling, because there was only 2 Americans that actually made it to the team in '96.
That's amazing. Has the sport in the Olympics, has the format maybe evolved over the last almost 30 years? The reason I ask is I rock climb, and this is the second year that the Olympics are featuring rock climbing, and they have changed the format. So from let's say 1 medal each for men and women, now they have 2 medals. That they've divided the contest into 2 or 3 different kinds of climbing. So has mountain biking also changed in the Olympics? Do you track that stuff? Does it get you excited?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you mean. How do you how did it change?
What I mean is has the length of the race or what's expected of the contest, has that changed? Is there 1 medal for men, 1 for women? That's what I'm trying to understand. Is it the same race that was happening in '96 happening today?
Yeah, you mean as far as medals, like they give gold, silver, and bronze? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, medals, or maybe the length of the ride, maybe the difficulty of the ride.
I haven't really seen. It's still the same, except that the riders and the races are. What's different about the races in the cross country now in the Olympics and in racing is that the races are shorter, the laps are shorter to give more of a spectator, so the spectator could see the race, so that it makes the race, instead of being a 30-minute lap, now they're like 20 minutes or less than about 20 minutes a lap. So making it that way, the race is really, and then they also are allowing you to, if you get a flat, you have a stop where you could stop and you could change your wheel by your mechanics. So those are the kind of things that we didn't have in the Olympics. The races are just shorter and faster, more, a little bit more technical. They kind of made man-made trails now, where they have more challenging rock gardens, more drop-offs, more jumps, and things like that. So it is definitely a different kind of a sport as far as what I used to do it. We used to go out for about 2 hours. Now mountain bike racing is about an hour and a half. And they're like, I just watched the Olympics this year, well, just a couple days ago, and they did 8 laps. And I think their racing time was probably around, I'm not sure the winning time, but I could guarantee it was about an hour 30, maybe. Maybe it's a little bit longer, but not much longer. So, it's it's definitely a big change in the way the mountain biking is. Just more technical, more quicker laps. Meaning you have to be recovering a lot faster, and you got to have have the right equipment for these type of tracks now. Now more riders are using full suspension instead of hardtails, and that's a big difference. It was back when I was racing, you could ride a hardtail, but now if you ride a hardtail, on the tracks that they make them, you could probably crash or flat.
Sure.
A lot of things, it's just a much slower bike on the, the typical courses that they make nowadays. It's not like, they're not smooth. They're just a lot more challenging and more exciting to watch.
Yeah, the racing seems to have evolved with both the technical demands expected, but then also the changing nature of modern consumption. Things have to be kept up with, let's say, I don't know, the attention economy, if you may. Like, you want to be able to create like the right kind of content so people out there are watching it on their platform, whether it's television or social media. It makes sense. Maybe it has evolved the same way as the sports side, but it's still fascinating to hear about how it has specifically evolved.
Right.
Sport of mountain biking. Going back a little bit though, Tinker, I'm curious, were you a natural athlete when you started with BMX? Did you come from a family of athletes and mountain bikers? Are there any specific points where you realized you had a talent for the sport? And take us through those early years.
Yeah, good question. No, I don't. The background of my family, there's no cycling at all. It was just as a kid growing up, I enjoyed riding my BMX bike, and so that was something that I loved doing, and I've always been I've always been active. When I was in high school, I did track. I ran some track and things like that. But the bottom line, the sport that I loved most was BMX, where I did it for 15 years. And my family definitely was a big support and getting me to all the races every weekend when I was a kid. And I used to race at least 3 times a week in the BMX days. And that's quite normal. I mean, kids nowadays race a lot in BMX. The races are short and they're over in about, like a minute. I don't know how long the races are, but they're over quick. So, so for me to get into mountain biking, it was all about just, working on my endurance. I wasn't into riding road bike at the time as a kid. I was just a BMX. And I rode that for, every day after school. But I never thought about owning a 10-speed back then. But as I got into mountain biking, my endurance, I realized that the sport was, needed some, I needed to get some miles underneath my legs, so to speak. And the competition I was racing against were guys that were racing, are from the road. So right away, I realized that these guys ride the road bikes and they put a lot of time on their bike. So that just made me made me want to get on ride a 10-speed and start putting in the miles. I had the skills from the BMX, so my BMX skills helped me get into mountain biking. It definitely helped my it helped my just my confidence in riding trails, turning, climbing, being smooth, jumping over things and all that. The BMX for the 15 years of racing definitely helped me in all that. So riding against the road guys, they were definitely didn't have the skills of knowing how to turn and jump and ride, technical trails. So I had an advantage in them and they had an advantage on me. So just by the endurance. So I just had to kind of try to balance it out.
I do a tiny amount of road biking. I've been doing that for many years. And then a few years ago, I picked up a mountain bike. So I had like the opposite paths to you where, yes, I can sit on my mountain bike and sit on my road bike and I can go for a few hours. But when I started mountain biking, it was also scary, like starting it in my 40s. And maybe I'm just I don't know, a timid cat, but I can imagine you acquired a lot of those fundamental skills at an early age, all those technical skills, while the other people who are coming from a different background, they had to kind of learn their way a bit more carefully. and things
Yeah,
which were
yeah.
so natural for you perhaps were took more perseverance and intention from people who came in from a different background.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, like for instance, the gravel that's just kind of exploded in the sport. Guys that ride road, they get on a gravel bike and they're on dirt, and it's totally a different technique all the way around. So I even had a slight advantage in that, just because when I know how to ride smooth, and with the skinny tires, guys, they're a little bit more scary about going into turns, going into really fast at a high speed. So yeah, my skills came back in with the mountain bike skills and things like that. But it didn't take long for the roadies to get good on gravel bikes, but
Sure.
it did require some practice riding on the dirt for sure.
From, let's say, technical, explosive BMX biking, you have gone on to perhaps specialize in ultra endurance mountain biking. Let me first ask you, what is ultra endurance mountain biking, Thinker? And then, yeah, why did you end up at this type of mountain biking as your specialty?
I didn't understand that. You were saying, say that again. I'm sorry.
I was asking, what is the current type of biking that is your favorite, that you specialize in?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mountain biking, I've always loved endurance, riding my bike. The longer I'm on my bike, the better I feel on my bike. So that's my comfort zone. I was, when I started into mountain biking, it was really all about, cross country was just shorter and it was faster. And so as I gotten a little bit older and the competition got a little bit faster, I was lucky that the sport started growing into where longer distance were starting to get popular, like marathons, 40, 50 miles riding on a mountain bike. That started working for me because, I just enjoy being on my bike, and the longer I could be on it, the better I feel. I feel more at home as far as that goes, riding my bike. So yeah, endurance has always been good for me. I was never really a crazy downhiller. I was never really, like a freestyle guy or any of that. That never really was my type of thing. I mean, it's cool to watch, but I rather go up hills than go down hills. It's my favorite thing.
Sure.
My choice. If I had any choice, I would rather be going up that hill instead of trying to go down it as fast as I can.
To me, and sometimes it seems like two ends of the spectrum of bicycling. Like, you have your roots as in explosive BMX biking, and now you do these super long, epic rides, which go on for hours and hours and hours. Curious, do you think your natural talent, though, lies more in the endurance end of things, or perhaps in the more technical end of things?
Um, I, I didn't. I'm trying to figure out that question again. So you're saying something about the longer distance?
I'm saying, like, what are you, as far as like natural talent is concerned? Do you think you are still stronger as a technical rider, or do you think you had some innate gifts in stamina and endurance that you're now capitalizing in?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I have much. I just, the endurance in me is a lot better than any others. And, as far as it comes down to riding my bike, I mean, I've done a lot of 24-hour races, and and at one point you just get tired of them, and you get burned out at a point in your career. And then I did, Ram Race Across America. I did that once, and that was, I'm glad I wanted to do it, and I did it. But after I did it, there was never a chance again I do it again. It just really was just tore me up. Took a little while to get back to feeling normal again. but I enjoyed the challenge, So when it comes to challenging, riding far and long, I'm always looking forward to it.
What is race across America? Are you literally riding your mountain bike or your
Yeah,
bicycle across from one end of the country?
right, right. It's the Ram is basically it's the Ram race across America is called the Ram, and it's on the road bike. But when I was doing the long distance on my mountain bike, and I go, man, I need to step it up. And so when I thought about the Ram, I seen it on TV, and I said, yeah, that looks like it should be good for me. So I gave it a shot. I had a good crew, probably had like 8 people to help out. And we started at Oceanside in California, and we raced all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah. So it was like 3,000 miles and over 3,000 miles. And so that was, basically it's a big event, and I gave it a try, and I survived and I made it. I think I got like 3rd place. So I was happy with my result. It wasn't my kind of racing, because what ended up happening is that, it's all about, trying to ride without sleeping. So if you could ride your bike and keep on going, the less you could sleep and the more you can ride, the better your chances of winning a race. And as a long distance rider, my whole life, it's always been important to have good rest. Sleep is number one. In the Ram, sleep was not. If the less you sleep, the more you ride, the better chance you have of winning the race. And that just really wasn't, my type of thing. So I needed a little sleep, and I got a couple hours of sleep every night, and still was able to. It was mandatory at the time to sleep. You had to sleep about 3 hours max. So, so that was the reason why I ended up challenge doing that race. But now you could do the ride without resting or sleeping. And so now guys that are doing the races are doing it at, I think, just under 8 days, something like that, the solo riders.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's incredible. That's
insane. How long did it take you? How long did it take you to ride?
At the time I did, it was like 10 days. I think it was just under 10 and a half. I think like 10 days and 10 and a half. Yeah. 10 and a half days is what I think. But that was because we had to stop and rest and all that. Now that the Ram has changed, where now the resting is not, you can go on and ride as long as you want and stop with it as long as you want. So it's it's totally changed. But I did do it a couple of years ago as a team, an 8-person team, and I thought, this is not going to be bad. Yeah, so I was able to rest. After with 8 riders, you get a good amount of rest, and you get to see, at least this. You're riding across the country, so you get to see a lot of the stuff that you didn't see when you're doing a solo.
This solo thing, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the idea of doing 3,000 miles in 10 days or 11 days. You're riding 300 miles a day. Most people would do like 100-mile long ride, and that would be like a capstone of their recreational cycling. You've been doing 300 miles every day for 11 days with maybe a few hours of sleep. Did you ever fall asleep while you were on the road?
No, but I definitely felt tired. That's for sure. My legs were not moving. They were barely moving, and I was barely moving. It was really pretty painful just to go slow when you can't go any faster than what you're going. So it just seemed like counting the hours were just, it seemed like it was taking forever. So, it was tough. It was really tough. But yeah, when you're saying about 300 300 miles a day. Now my training is a week is like 350 miles a week. So it's crazy to think that doing it in one day, 300 miles, but every day for that long. Yeah.
I mean, your weekly training regimen sounds very intimidating as well. But yeah, doing that in one day, just boggles the
Yeah.
mind. Beyond that, just trying to get more into some of your racing career. You have done so many things, so many races, Olympics, to all kinds of world championships under your belt. Are there maybe one or two races or accomplishments that you are particularly proud of? And tell us about those, Tinker.
Well, there's a lot of titles that I'm pretty happy with, or I'm very happy with. Actually, I'm blessed and thankful. But it was always one of the toughest one is when you're an Olympian and you're racing the Olympics and you're trying to race for the going for the medal. That was one that was not medaling was tough, but after a few years, just having that title of being an Olympian, it's really it really kind of now means a lot more than just medaling. I mean, I'm really just thankful to be able to say I'm an Olympian, 2-time Olympian, and so yeah, I try to think about all the Americans, since the Olympic, how many Americans have more than 2 Olympians? And I think there's probably right now only one American man that's 3-time Olympian, but has never medaled. And there hasn't been any medals yet in the men's in the Olympics. And in the women's, there's been 2 medals so far in the Olympics since '96. And this year, it was great to see an American woman get silver medal. And that was, I think, 1996. There was a bronze medal in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's taken this long to see a woman finally, get ahead of her and got the best American in the Olympics is silver. So we came a long ways, but it's showing that how hard it is to make a medal in the Olympics. And, but also too, being a silver medalist as a world champion was a big deal for me. That was in '94 in Vail, Colorado. And that was really my best year was in '94. I was silver medal. I was U.S. national champion. And and I think I was also, but I don't think that was in '94. I think it was '95. I was a Pan American gold medal. So there's a lot of titles that are really important, but they just stick with you. And when you think back, it just gives you that little motivation every day, just when you have a chance just to think about it. And it just, you're just thankful that you've done it. And, and you're still doing what you love to do.
That's right. Most people who have had your kinds of titles are probably not racing competitively anymore. And you are somehow still at the top, still training hard and going at it, race after race. Tinker, you turned professional quite early in your career. I think in your teens, perhaps, right? So
at age 15.
Wow.
And the reason I turned at age 15 is because when I raced BMX from 73 to 75, I was already, up in an expert category at expert level. And I was racing at age 15, I was winning a lot of races. And, so there was they started a pro class. And so I decided to just turn pro at age 15. And I was the youngest at that time. So it was quite, it was, it was a good move because I was, like I said, I already raced 4 years in BMX, and to turn, to turn pro at age 15 at the youngest, it was a big jump, but I never regretted it.
This this may be a dumb question, but what does turning pro in the world of mountain biking mean? Did you get a sponsor right away who were paying you, let's say, a monthly salary? What is turning pro?
Um, yeah, pretty much when you're at a pro level, you get sponsored by a team, and normally the team knows you're at the high level as a pro, so you get a salary, and the salary helps you, takes care of your training, your expenses, and things like that. And so, salary is important as a pro because, now you got to do it. It's almost like a full-time job. You don't ride 48 hours or 40 hours a week, but you still got to put in a lot of hours to stay in shape and to keep, stay at the level as a pro.
Most 15-year-olds, even back then, I'm guessing, were likely getting ready for high school, maybe plans of going to college, and here you are turning pro. So I want to understand a little bit more about that part of your life.
Yeah.
Firstly, yes. So were you still studying at the same time as turning pro? And then I'm curious, I'm sure your family was quite proud of you for being recognized, but how did they take the shift that you were making with your life and your career?
Yeah. When I was at high school, I was, at age 15, and, I didn't really have a chance to make any plans of what I was going to do after high school. So as I was making money, I thought, well, this is a good job, and I'm young, and I was, I did have a few small jobs, when I was in high school. But it wasn't, they weren't fun jobs. There was nothing, exciting about it. So I thought, as long as I could make money, I'm going to continue to do this even after I graduate. I really didn't study to be anything. I didn't have any future plans, and I was just, I was so hooked into my biking that I didn't really even have a chance to think about that once I was cycling, full time. So, my parents were, my mom and dad were supportive. They were happy what I was doing, and they pretty much just let me choose what I wanted to do. And so, racing my bike, and I was able to pay the bills and just do what I love. That was a dream for me as a BMX kid.
It's certainly amazing to have a supportive family who can nurture, let's say, off the beaten path types of dreams. Were your parents concerned at all, though? Did you have, I don't know, family money or something else? Were they concerned that maybe 15 years down the road, how would David continue to make a living and succeed?
That was good. I'm not really sure. We just did it. I was already at probably 8 or 9 years already racing BMX, and there's really no, I didn't really have a chance to think about what happens. What's going to happen if I don't have a team. I just knew that as long as I kept on racing good and racing at a high level, and sponsors were there to support me, I didn't really see any point of stressing about it. And as a kid, I didn't really I didn't let the future stress me out. I just kind of lived life at the moment, and I think that was kind of the way. It was a lot easier than worrying about things. And if I had to work, I had to work. And I was, but I wasn't, I wasn't going to be able to work and make the kind of money that I was making in the BMX. I'd probably be making a lot less. So I figure, you know what, this is a good paying job. I'd rather just keep on improving and keep on trying to better myself every year, and you know, and see what it's going to take to maybe to get a bigger sponsor or whatever. So those are the kind of goals that I had. Just holding on to the sponsors as long as you can, making them happy, giving them results, you know, treating the people fair, you know, and just, you know, trying to have a good time, and just, you know, spreading out the word how, you know, how great the sport is.
You had this conviction, and then you had the ability to really follow that passion, and yeah, and you've been doing it ever since. Wanted to speak a little bit about perhaps the evolution of the sport. You have been right in the thick of it for, again, for like 50 years. Have you seen, let's say, the popularity of the sport, and the talent go through the roof? I'm wondering, was BMX and mountain biking so much more niche like 50 years ago? And now when you go out riding, do you see a lot of diversity? Do you see a lot of age ranges? When you're in races, do you find that maybe the people who are, let's say, winning races, maybe they're older than maybe the time when you started racing? How have you seen some of these things shift, Thinker, over the decades?
Um, well, one of the things I was lucky as I was growing up in the sport, just just seeing how the bikes have changed. The bikes have just gotten, you know, each year they're finding things to make the bikes better and faster and lighter. And so that was, you know, kept me excited because every year I got something new, and, you know, new to test out and ride. And so, yeah, so that was, you know, made cycling, you know, exciting because you get to ride these lighter equipment, means that you get the chance to go faster and you know, and become a better racer. And I think, you know, the way the sport was growing, mountain biking was just um, it was just a great sport that people could do. You know, besides on the road, they could go out and they, you know, go out the dirt in the mountains and ride their mountain bike. So, and you know, I just think that was probably why, you know, mountain biking was got so popular, because there's, you know, so many places to ride mountain bikes, you know, in the mountains. And so, yeah, so I think that was, and then you know, the way the bikes have just gotten so much lighter and better and safer is, you know, it just made the sport really, you know, grow in that way.
Yeah, the sport certainly seems a lot more accessible. There are better and better bikes, perhaps available at the cheaper price points, and trails seem to have exploded all over the place. I mean, other people I speak with, I understand that yes, there are active trail, like in Jeremiah Bishop's words, there are like trail angels and trail elves in these communities all over the world now who are working to develop these trails, and I think that's probably done a lot to demystify the sport and made it accessible for the average person. Wanted to also see how the talent pool and longevity of the sport has improved. Like, you are still competing, but when you see people who are winning races today, has a typical age of that person, has that also shifted? You know, we see that in other sports, for example, right? For example, in popular sports like tennis, you know, people are, you know, winning like Wimbledon and like you know, the Grand Slams of the event at the age of late 30s, like Federer is. But 20 years ago, that was inconceivable. You know, people winning, you know, the US Open or whatnot, they were like in the early 20s. So has that also happened with mountain biking, where people are winning and staying in, like, say, top shape for a lot longer?
So, let me think what you're trying to say. I think you're asking about the age now that the riders are racing at the level, at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
was trying to understand if you are you an exception thinker, or are there other people like you who are also at the top of the sport?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I'm kind of I'm kind of thrown off on that one, but I think one of the good things about it is that the younger riders that are now starting, that are getting into the sport, are going really good. Is a lot of things have changed. Now they have high school mountain biking and things like that, and I think that the NICA thing and the stuff that's happening at the school where kids could race their compete their bikes is really helping the sport bring out some really good talent, young talent. And I think now, there's a lot of kids that are really young that are going really fast. And I think that's great because, European has been dominating the sport for a long time in mountain biking and cycling. And, probably the big reason is because, cycling is so much bigger in Europe, than any other sport. I mean, cycling is, a big sport in Europe, where in US it's not a big sport. It's kind of a bummer, but I think cycling has just, stayed at a big level because, I don't know, it's because their cities and their countries, they allow them, I mean, there's no laws or anything, keeping them from riding a bike or keep racing. There's a lot of restrictions in US racing where, there's too many, too many laws where you can't even race your bike, which is kind of sad. And, so I think in Europe, that's why cycling is so big, because the sport is, you could ride, I mean, you could just race. Yeah, I'm kind of lost on that question. Anyways, it's just a bigger sport in Europe. It's never died down. Road cycling, especially, if you see where they race at, they don't have any laws where they can't race their bikes. Normally you could see cars stopped in a highway and just to wait till the race goes by, and then after they go by and it's clear, then they let the traffic go on by. That would not be allowed here in the US, because, it's just, the laws are really just messed up and they won't allow that. So, cycling is always going to be big in Europe. And and that's why they're just much more dominating the sport, because the sport is just, we don't have the kind of, the level that they, racing that we used to have that in the beginning, but now it all kind of went into the Europe, and now mountain biking is bigger there. It's, and sponsors are bigger there, and it's just tougher to get sponsors here to get you to get paid. So if there's somehow we could change that where, sponsors could start, paying riders here, we could maybe start seeing, faster Americans, race better.
That's a very interesting perspective. It actually makes sense in a different way. I'm wondering that perhaps one reason why Europeans are dominating the sport of cycling is because there are so many more people in general cycling in Europe. So many more average people are going to work on a bicycle, going to school on a bicycle, doing errands on a bicycle. I am a bike commuter in San Francisco, and San Francisco is ahead of many places when it comes to enabling access to roads for cycling. At the same time, even here, I feel scared. I am on my bike path, and there are often cars which are parallel parked blocking my path, or sometimes I feel like cars behind me are going to run me over. And then this is still like San Francisco, and you're in LA, and LA at least has some areas where you can bike safely. But then the rest of this country, I would feel very scared of going cycling in most of this country. So I'm wondering, if there is just this national consciousness that we lack when it comes to things like cycling that they have in Europe. And because of that, perhaps, the best riders just come on top just because so many more people are on their bicycles all over Europe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people are scared to ride here is because of there's so many people in cars. And every day I go on, I always pray just to make sure I'm going to make it back home. And so my riding, I've always done kind of the similar loops that I normally ride. I know what roads that are dangerous and what roads that are less dangerous. And I just think that if you just try to be as safe as you can riding in the US, you shouldn't get run over, you shouldn't get hit. And and also it's just, it's just that people are just, they don't really care about cyclists as they would in Europe. We have too many people paying attention on their phones, not paying attention to what's on the road. And so unfortunately, we have to take, riders like me and other riders, we have to just, try to pick the right time. Timing is everything sometimes. I'm lucky because I get to do this and I get to ride with people who are normally at work. And I try to ride between like 10 and 3 in that window. So I know people are still at work. But if you have to ride, normal people have to ride after work. That's when it gets really dangerous because people want to get home. People are in a hurry. People don't really care about cyclists. And that's why cycling is really, that's why I think gravel is picked up because it gives now these people more, they feel more safe there and they get to ride on the trails and they get to do what they love is compete. And a lot of roadies, they stop riding because the road is just too dangerous for training on the road. And now that gravel has, given a second chance for a lot of roadies. And I think that's great. I mean, it's great to see, a lot of people back into the gravel scene because they get to do what they love to do is ride their bike. And, I love riding on the road and I take a risk every day, but it's my choice and it's my job. And that's just what I have, I just got to just focus on where it is that that I feel the most comfortable riding. And whether it's not exciting or not, at least I know I could probably make it home every day. And that's kind of my goal.
I love gravel riding for the same reasons. It takes me away from cars.
Yeah.
You're putting in hundreds of miles on your bicycle every day. Besides just choosing the right time to be on the road, when there's less traffic, are there any specific things you do, Tinker, that we can learn from to stay safe on the roads out there on our bicycles?
It's strange, but I use a mirror on my bike. And honestly, as a professional, you think of guys wearing a mirror or using flashing lights and all this. Those are kind of dorky people, you kind of make fun of them. But, those days are gone. If you want to live and you want to be safe, you need a couple things that whether it looks kind of kooky or funny or, or not so cool. That's okay. I don't care, but at least I get to, at least I feel like I could come home every day and be safe. And using a mirror on my bike has been the best thing that I think it's the cheapest investment you could buy on a bicycle. And it's the most safest thing. I always just say, try to drive a car without a mirror and see how much you use that mirror, when you don't have a mirror in the car. I mean, you need that mirror in your car. You need that mirror on your bike. And I honestly I would ride if I didn't have a mirror on my bike, as soon as I pull on the driveway, I would turn around and I would get a mirror on my bike because, that is the number one thing that I feel so much more confidence because I know what's coming from behind me. And yeah, so the mirror on my bike is the best tool that I find, the most safest tool out there. And also, also the blinking light too is also, another important thing too. So having those two things are, and then also trying to ride a little bit with brighter colors. help out too. So if you want to ride the road, you're going to find anything and everything to be safe as you can. And to me, those three things, a mirror, flashing lights, and bright colors, is the secret for me to ride every day on the road.
Every once in a while, I'll see some cyclists on the road at night who's, let's say, decorated like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
With all the lights. And I mean, I'm like, power to them. And now you're only reinforcing that if a 2X Olympian is out there with a rear view mirror on their bike, then the rest of us can also adopt these safe biking practices that may seem dorky, but will keep us safe in this world dominated by cars. Oh, what about a bell? Do you have a bell on your bike?
A bell? No. Okay. Actually, I because I ride the road so much, the bell is really not too important because, I go around cyclists. I just kind of say something, I'll yell out, I'm coming. But when you're off-roading, I think it is important to have a bell because, you're always coming around blind corners and there's always going to be a hiker. And hikers don't like bikers. And I can understand that because I can see a lot of cyclists. They go around turns like they own the turn and there's nobody that's going to be on the same trail. And I can see why, hikers get, scared about cyclists. So I think it should be a law where you should have to have a bell on your bike on the trails. Just because, it warns the person ahead of you. And, when I ride, I'm just more safer when I ride. So I'm not the crazy guy that's going to go flying around a turn. Yeah. I go around a turn knowing that there might be somebody there. So I go around it slower. I'm not in a race. I'm just training, but I'm planning on having a bell. I'm not trying to, think that I'm just cool without one. I do go around sometimes a turn and I forget to say something, or I try to go around a turn and I'm not, I might go a little bit too fast. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. I haven't hit anybody and I plan not to ever try to hit anybody. So, I think a bell is a key thing. And I definitely will have one in the future on my mountain bike. But on the road, I really don't see it important. I'm just, it's easier, you're quieter and you're not going to scare somebody. And normally I don't mind yelling out something, rider coming by or whatever. So
good advice over there. I think both on trails and also at other multi-use areas. Like I cross the Golden Gate Bridge when I go cycling and there's so many tourists taking photos and I wish I had a bell. I'm going to go get a bell for my next ride.
I mean, it's a cool thing to have. I mean, it's just share. I mean, you want people to love cyclists. You don't want them to hate cyclists. So the best way to do it is just to be, more cautious, more friendly to the people that are out there walking too.
Good advice there. Yes. If people don't hate us, then they will be more likely to embrace more cycling on the road.
Right.
Moving on a little bit and talking a little bit more about your career, on how you've been able to sustain a career with being a full-time cyclist in a sport that traditionally doesn't pay like the big bucks. Are you still a professional rider? I actually noticed recently that you had started something like a GoFundMe for being able to raise money. So curious, talk to us about like, how do you make a living and why are you having to raise funds?
Well, okay. So I was on a team this year that I signed a contract and I was supposed to get, a salary a month. I was supposed to get paid a month and I was supposed to get all this, bikes and all this stuff. So I was counting on this money to support my racing and, to pay for my traveling, pay for my, my expenses. I do about, 15 to 20 races a year. And, so, I was kind of, I was planning, I have plans of doing these races. And once I realized that this team was, bad news, and just, really was lying about everything pretty much, because, every time I was questioning about my money and bikes and on, there was always an excuse after an excuse. And they could never answer my question. So I just said, you know what, these guys are not going to do anything for you, man. You got to just get out of this bad situation. So yeah, I got out of it, and I ended up having now, was counting on the money to pay for my expenses to go to races. So I didn't really, I didn't want to just like, I could continue riding my bike, but people want to see me continue to race. And I thought, well, only way, I'm going to need to get some kind of help. So I thought of GoFundMe, and the fans, when they heard about me, this bad news with the team, they thought, hey, what can we do? They wanted to help out. And so they brought up this GoFundMe, and I thought, hey, that might be a good start. And so I did, start it, and, cause I want to race and I want to finish off this year, and hopefully next year I could get a team where I could maybe get some money so I could continue to race. It's not, I could still ride my bike, but as far as racing is not cheap. And and I could race local races, but people like to see me race, worldwide. I won the national. I mean, I won the world championship in masters, but I won in Australia. That costs a lot of money to go there. And, and I was, and I traveled to Spain and things like that. And without a sponsor, it's becomes, you need to make money to be able to, to do these races. And so that's why I started the GoFundMe. And, I'm going to be able to make it this year, get by. I'm going to continue no matter what it's going to take. I'm not going to stop racing. And I'm hoping to be able to get a sponsor that will pay some money. I don't need to get a lot of money. I just need to be able to get help to continue my training, to continue my, my lifestyle as far as racing my bike. I mean, I don't need to make money. And if I don't make money, then I won't be able to race the way I want to race full time. And that's the reason why I'm, even though I'm not a professional like I used to be, a full-time professional, I figured that I put in enough time and to become a legend, so to speak, as everybody, sees me. I think, it's mainly just going and giving back to the sport. So if I could go to the races, people love to still see me ride my bike. So I would think that, being in this, done this sport for almost close to 60 years, and, people love to have me come to the races. So I'm figuring, asking, getting still paid as a, like a pro, I don't see why I should be able to get paid doing it, because I've done it my whole career. And, mainly I want to go out and, visit, do races, compete and sign autographs and show people that you can still do it at my age. And that's number one thing. I mean, people are blown away to see me competing at a level that I'm at, and to still see me racing. It gives them motivation. It gives them hope too.
Tinker, you are one of the most recognizable faces of mountain biking in the world. And you are hugely inspiring to people all over the world. I think not just mountain bikers, but to just the everyday person out there looking to chase their dreams. We will be sure to put the link to the fundraising in the show notes. So yes,
Okay,
let's get more people rallied so you can continue traveling the world and inspiring other people. Let's talk a little bit about your training. We already spoke about like the countless miles you're putting in day after day. What about like your things like your diet? Like, are you having to shift what you eat today to what you perhaps consumed even a decade, 2 decades ago? Like, do you have any specific like strategies to stay nutritionally fueled for your kind of, big training loads?
So, so you're basically asking me, how do I train, or what do I do for training?
I'm asking you, what have you learned about your diet?
Yeah.
Like what kind of food are you eating day after day so you can support your workload?
Well, I'm not really into any special diet or anything like that. I was as a professional at the at my peak time. I was a little bit more. I was more careful what I eat, things like that. But now I eat normal, just regular, every day. I mean, I try to eat as healthy as I can every day. I mean, fish during the week. I'll have fish. I'll have some meat. I'll have pasta. I'll have just, pretty much, normal food, chicken and things like that. And, vegetables and things like that. But I'm not, now that I'm at my age, I don't, the dieting is not that important to me. I mean, I want to try to enjoy my training. I want to enjoy eating, and I want to, so what I try to do is, as long as I train every day, I like to eat what I want to eat. I don't want to have to, eat less or eat different because I'm not riding enough. So one of the reasons why I like training is because I like to eat. And if you like to eat and you still think you can eat like you're in high school, then you could better keep riding, or you're going to, you're going to pick up that weight really quick. Our weight doesn't come off like we used to do when we were younger. So, yeah, so that's one of the big motivations, is that I still like to eat, I still like to eat, like a normal dinner, and not have to cut down and certain food because, I'm at an age where I can't eat hamburgers, or I can't eat burritos, or I can't eat all this fun food or pasta or pizza, or, I can't have a sandwich without a bread. I want to be able to eat all this stuff. And so, to be able to eat this, to eat like that. And I want to have beer. I want to drink. I want to have, these kind of stuff. I don't want to be so stressed out that, racing has really just taken over my whole life in a big way. So I want to try to enjoy at this age, be able to eat what I want, and and go at a good condition. I don't want to look, like I'm, like Mr. Hulk or anything. I want to, I don't want to look either like a big heavy guy, but I'm a normal guy, and I want to show that you could be a normal weight guy and still go fast. And so, yeah, so eating has always been, like one of my favorite things. I love to eat. And as an American, we all love to eat. That's why we have all the proper places. I think what we have to do is to cut down and people to getting overweight is to stop all the restaurants and close them at a certain hour at night, so people won't be continually eating. But yeah, it's just an American lifestyle. We love our food and we love to eat. So the only way I'm going to be able to enjoy it is to be able to, I'm blessed I could be able to ride every day. And so it keeps me motivated to keep my weight at a certain, at a certain weight. So yeah, so it just keeps me wanting to ride my bike. As far as my training, I can't train it like I'm starting to feel the burn, the fatigue. My speed is not the same as it used to be. But that's, it is for sure. It's because of your age. But I'm still not going to try to slow down and cut down my training in half. I'll try to cut, I might have to slow down in miles, but I'm still going to try to continue to train as close as I was. I might not be as fast, but I'll still try to train the same as I used to.
What about things like, so, as we get older, we find that our bodies are getting stiffer. We wake up in the morning and we can't just suddenly bust out like 20 pull-ups or go for a sprint, right? So those things happen to us.
Yeah.
Have you adopted any kinds of mobility or cross training to again stay limber and be able to move like the way you want to?
Yeah, I mean, everything has definitely slowed down. I mean, it's harder for me it takes me a while to get fired up to go get on my bike. So that's why I kind of do my routine in the morning, which is not a whole lot. I just take care of the stuff out in the garage. Whether it's just cleaning, cleaning my cars, getting, whatever. I started doing weightlifting more, consistent. I mean, I'm more focused on doing my weightlifting now, even during the season. I mean, I try to do it no less, at least twice a week. I mean, I got to squeeze it in there now. And just because I know for sure you do lose your strength. And the only way I'm going to be able to try to keep my strength up, to keep my endurance going and all that, is by just doing some, basic weight training. And I do about 5 different exercises and weights. I do bench, I do curls, I do a few things on my legs. I spend at least a good hour in weights, and then I'll go out and do my ride, by 11 o'clock and stuff like that. So, if I do weights, normally I'll do my cycling after my weight training, and it does feel a little. It took a little while to get used to it, feeling after you do weights and going ride your body feels a little heavier, not as fat. But, I just figure, it's just important for me to keep to try to keep my strength up. I'm not trying to bulk up or anything. I'm just trying to keep my muscles, tuned up, so to speak, keep them tuned, not do anything heavy, just, try to do, more reps than anything. And, yeah, so weight training, it's definitely been my newest thing that I've added into my training, during my week of riding.
And absolutely, I hear that consistently across a lot of the older athletes that I speak with. The one thing different about you is you do your weight training before, let's say, your sport specific training, which is going riding. As a rock climber, I am advised to optimize my climbing first, because I know that if I do a bunch of deadlifts or bench presses before I go for a climbing training session, I will not have any power when I go climbing. Yeah. So I don't know, do you ever have that, or maybe you've just been riding for so long?
No, that's a good point. I mean, your rock climbing definitely is, you're using your arms. You need your arms to be rested. You have to have that power in your arms. I could see as a rock climber, it would definitely make climbing a lot, stiffer and harder. And so I think in your sport, it would definitely be something to do afterwards. But it's cycling, I'm on my bike and I'm sitting down, and I'm not using my upper body as much as I'm using my legs. So it's not really that important for me to worry about my, weight training as far as, doing it before or after. It just took it a while to get it. I did feel a little bit slower when I rode my bike, but as I got used to the routine, I started seeing a little bit of the improvement. I started noticing, oh, wow, I'm pedaling a little bit stronger. It could be a mental thing or whatever, but it definitely gives you better focus on your training when you start to notice the difference what weight are doing. And so now that I'm doing it, I don't want to stop, because it's like anything. Once you start to feel like you're seeing the help that it's giving you in your sport, you don't want to stop doing it. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I don't want to skip. 2 days is really, I almost want to do 3 days now, but I think now 2 days is fine. As long as I try to stick with it 2 days a week, I'm happy with it. So but yeah, I mean, I think depending what sport, you might have to plan on doing it afterwards.
Totally.
Instead of before, but yeah, for sure. Cycling is a little bit different for me. I think that the upper body is, I need more of my legs than my upper body when I'm riding my bike.
Got it. Yeah. What about stretching and mobility. A lot of people, again, like I said, like I can't, I can't go down into a split. Well, I will never be able to do a split, but I definitely feel stiffer, when I do certain things. Do you do any stretching either before or after cycling?
No, good question. But, my son is really on me about not stretching. He's a wrestler. He's been into wrestling now for about 2 years, 3 years, and stretching is number one thing. And he's shocked. He can't believe that I don't stretch. He thinks that I should stretch, but I listen to him for all his good advice. But honestly, I'm not going to really change because stretching for me is not that important. Um, I know I'm probably only speaking for myself, but I know for other athletes, stretching is probably the number one thing. And I'm just lucky that I don't have to do it. I find that just moving around, doing what I do outside, I'm not just staying still. I'm stretching around. I'm moving my arms. I'm moving my legs. So I am staying pretty active before I go out and ride. So I am loosening up in some ways. And I think even with the weightlifting, I think the way I'm moving, using my arms and stuff, to me, it's like stretching, So, so I don't stretch. Maybe I should have, but I've never really felt that I really needed it.
Well, you have found ways to stay limber with all the other things that you do. Wanted to speak a little bit about the mental side of being able to keep a long career of cycling. I know that sometimes if I have a long training afternoon ahead of me and I've been climbing for a long time, every once in a while, I hit a block and I just don't want to go and put in the hours. Have you hit those kinds of blocks yourselves? You have like a long ride plan and you just don't have the oomph to go out and charge.
Right.
Curious, how do you get past those kinds of things?
Well, this year was a tough year because of the team. I was promised a lot with my team. I was actually even promised to have a signature bike. So having all these promises and a contract and everything everything was become a big lie. It really did drain me. It really took a lot of confidence out of me. My training started slacking. I didn't have that hunger. My mind was more upset than enjoying what I'm supposed to be doing. So I was noticing that it was really bringing me down in that way. I almost had a few local races I didn't want to go because the motivation that I needed, the confidence I needed was not there. And I could hide it because that's just how I am. But honestly, it just didn't feel right. And I didn't like the way I was feeling. So, when things are not going good, you definitely lose that motivation, that drive that you need, that confidence to give you to make riding fun and everything. And, but once I tried to, that's why I had to get off this team, because I just realized that I'm really I'm starting to go backwards. My confidence is down. My focus is, I feel like I'm just making up this feeling, which is really not a good feeling, so I was really losing that spark that I needed. Even somebody said they read something, go, "Oh, Tinker, I noticed that your writing, your writing has gotten, your confidence is back up because your writing is, you're writing much more positive." And that's just kind of interesting that people could tell when you're down and when you're up just by your writing or how you're talking. And so yeah, when I left the team, I was definitely bummed out, upset, not happy. And then I was, I had nothing going my way, to finish off the season. But I got a text, a message from Cannondale, and I was blown away that Cannondale, I thought that was history, 4 years ago. And then they told me that they would love to give me some bikes. It wasn't a sponsorship. It was just give me bikes. And that right there just automatically made a 360 complete mind change in me in a big way. And all of a sudden I started feeling more confidence. I just felt like I just got, sponsored again. And it was just basically getting bikes. And so it doesn't take a lot for me to get my motivation up. When things go right and the way it should go, then I feel really good to go out and ride every day and feel confidence that people believe in me, my sponsors believe in me, and and there's hope at the end of the road. So now I have good motivation because I got bikes from Canada, and it doesn't mean that they're going to sponsor me, but they just said, "Hey, here's bikes. I hope this will help you out." And so that was great, and that's all it took, just that little bit, just to keep me going. And yeah. So it doesn't, yeah, but when things go good, you know, you want to ride and you want to continue to give what you've been giving your whole career. And so yeah, that's what normally what keeps me going. It's just the positive makes me go, makes me want to keep on riding because people believe in me. It makes me want to write to people, and fans still follow me after all this time. When they heard I was back with Canada, they were like blown away. They were as happy as I was, more happier than me, actually. They were so happy. And so that right there, just bringing all the positive things, just continued to give me more energy. And it just continues to make me want to continue to ride my bike every day.
I can see the strong relationship you have with your fans, Tinker, and I can see how that would keep nudging you, pushing you, motivating you to put in the work that it takes to be a professional rider, going to compete in these epic races all over. As you continue to age, how do you see your role also in the biking community evolving, right? Like you were this hot rod charger maybe just a couple of decades ago. What is your role now, you think? Like, what message do you hope to convey to inspire others?
I think the best thing is that I still meet people that are younger than me, but not that much, like in their 40s and things like that. And people are just happy to still see me doing what I'm doing. They always tell me stories about when they used to race mountain bikes when they were younger. They used to look up to me, and then so that right there is just a big push right there. I mean, having people that are 10 years younger than me still give me the what? Oh, that was just my mom. So anyways, they gave me the motivation to keep on pushing. I think I just, as long as I'm in the sport, I think I'm doing something positive because there's people that are, not as old as me, but are in their 40s and 50s that are happy to still see me doing it because they say that gives them motivation that they can still do it too. And I think that's right there is the key thing, is that people think that they're 40, that they're too old. Now they see me, they say they look up to me because I'm doing it at 63, and it gives them motivation to keep doing it at their age at 40. So I think that's a key positive thing. And this, the sport, there's being in the sport for so long, I'm so thankful that I could still race world championships, at a master's level. And so I think that's really a great thing too. When I was younger, there was never a master's category. Now that I've been in the sport since, for so long, I'm able to still race, and now I can still race for a world championship, and there's a master's world championship. So I think that's a great thing that this sport has done, has grown to be able to still race and still be able to race for some big titles.
Brilliant, Tinker. That's exactly the kind of message we hope to convey with this podcast. A couple of maybe a couple of final questions before we end.
Okay.
Any significant, let's say, habit or behavior that has helped you in the last few years?
I didn't understand that. What?
Let me repeat that. Any significant habit or behavior that you have developed that has helped you, that has made a big impact in you in the last few years?
Okay, that's a tricky question. So you're asking, has my way of thinking or changed, or my attitude, or
Yeah, something, let's say you started doing, maybe you picked up a new habit. You spoke about weightlifting. That's maybe one habit. Anything else that comes to mind where you have started doing something or something has shifted in your perspective that has had a big impact?
not really? Honestly, not really. I mean, my style is now is that I made this plan to racing my bike my whole life, and I'm going to continue to race until I can ride my bike. So that's my goal. And so my goal is that as long as I can continue to race my bike, I'm going to do it as long as I can. And if I could get support from sponsors and everything, I'm going to do my best to help them out because they're helping me out. I'm going to push their brand, I'm going to push their name, and yeah, and just continue to do it, and as long as I can.
Tinker, in recent memory, what has been the best use of, let's say, $100 that you have spent?
I yeah, ask me that again. I didn't understand that again.
What has been like the best $100 or something like that that you have that has given you the most benefit?
What has the best $100?
Yeah, what has been, let's say, the best use of $100 recently that you maybe it could be something that you purchased, something that you bought that you're like, wow, this is really good use of this little bit of money.
Oh, okay. Well, $100 is not a lot nowadays as far as when it comes to bicycle stuff because everything is so expensive on bikes. But probably the best investment for me for $100 would be just using that money to go enter into a race. Because racing is not cheap either, but at least you can have fun doing it, and you could enjoy doing what you've been doing your whole life. This racing. So, if I had $100, I could definitely pick a good race to go to and use that, for an entry or something.
Awesome. For sure. It's the experience of the race, and money spent on a good experience is never wasted. What is the greatest gift, Tinker, you think you have received? And perhaps what is the greatest gift maybe you have given somebody else?
I guess the greatest gift that I got is to be able to do it. Ride my bike as long as I have, and to be able to have the drive to do it every day. I mean, I know what makes me do what I do, except that I love what I do. So, to have the drive to go out and ride, 50, 40 to 60, 70 miles a day. For me, that's, it's the only gift that I figure is from God. God gave me the gift to be able to do what I love to do, and to be able to spread this love to other people, and showing that, this sport is a really good sport. It's a fun sport. It's a healthy sport. And it's a great way of meeting people. It's it's just done so many wonderful things for me. And the other question, I'm not sure what it was.
What is the greatest gift you think you have given somebody else?
The same, just to give the passion to be able to, what I've always heard over and over is, man, they say, it's because of you, it's because of you, I'm riding my bike, and I think them, because what I've done, what they see, what I could do, it's motivated them to ride a bike too. So I think for them to hear that, who knows what their choice would have been if they did, if I would, does that mean that they were just never going to ride a bike and they were just going to get, get unhealthy and not fit? So I think the good advice is that I gave, motivation for people to keep riding and stay healthy.
Tinker, you have this legion of fans the world over. What has been maybe, let's say, a testimonial or a message from a fan that has been the most profound? When has maybe a fan come back and say, "Oh my God, Tinker, you changed my life"? Have you had those moments?
Yeah, I'm not trying to figure out how I can answer. That's kind of a hard question to answer. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I'd answer that. I know that, like I said, it's motivation. What I done, is really changed a lot of people's life. They said that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have never got into cycling. And I think that's just hearing that, it's that's what my goal is, to try to get people into cycling. And, that's what I try to do. If anything, just to say, hey, this is you don't have to race a bike, just go out and ride your bike. And, it's a good health sport. I'm 63. I don't feel like I'm going to slow down. And I feel like I could continue till I'm 73. Who knows,
Awesome. Awesome. And then, maybe final question, Tinker. You live in LA, a city of big freeways, and there are, these big billboards all over LA. If there was a giant billboard and you could leave any message for the world out there, what would that message be?
I don't know. I would just say, never stop believing. No, never give up. Never stop believing. Give up. Never give up. Believe in God. I mean, for me, God has been, my power for my whole life. I believe that if it wasn't for God, for me, I would never been be where I'm at today. So I think God, definitely been my power, my motivation, and my strength every day. That's, why I'm here. He gave me this reason to be here. And so, that's my reason, is just to be able to, just never stop believing in, in the man upstairs, man. I mean, he can give you anything you want as long as you believe in him.
Never stop believing is a profound message indeed. Thank you so much for coming on the Ageless Athlete podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. You're awesome, man. You did. I was nervous about what I was gonna, what kind of questions, but you did an awesome job. Thank you for all the cool questions.
Thanks a lot.